I'm interested in projects where there's a challenge. I'm interested in projects where maybe there are aspects that I never explored before.
I'm Robin Johnson, this is Yours for the Making, and I'm joined by Andrea Felice from Andrea Felice Bespoke Furniture.
My approach has always been merging art with furniture and try to put as much as I can of the artistic side into the furniture. When you have your own business, you need to be surrounded by someone that, by people that understand what it takes.
This show tells the story of the makers, the people that create things, whether it's in wood or metal, whether they're artists or musicians or chefs. It doesn't matter. I'm going to tell their story.
Be patient. That's what I will say. And stick to your guns, because it's a long path, but is very rewarding once you get there.
I'm Robin Johnson, this is Yours for the Making, and I'm joined by Andrea Felice from Andrea Felice Bespoke Furniture.
Hello.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Your Instagram is the page that I am most envious of. Every time you post something, I'm like, oh man, this guy again. And I've been very open and honest about drawing inspiration from some of the stuff that you've done before. But I mean, it's like, I know there's that thing people say, there's Instagram versus reality. And I know the day-to-day might not be like that, but my God, you make some beautiful stuff.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I mean, the best way I like to describe what I do is I like to have fun. You know, for me, furniture making needs to be something that goes beyond the financial side. You know, so I'm interested in projects where there's a challenge. I'm interested in projects where maybe there are aspects that I never explored before. And that perhaps is what brings me to make interesting stuff, you know, if I can put it that way.
Yeah, it's very, I think from what I can tell, your approach is very artisan. You know, you put your own mark on it. You'll do something that's different to what I've seen anyone do before, really.
Yeah, it's, I mean, I have a kind of traditional training as a background, but I also have a bit of a sculptural training as well. But very early in my days, I realized that the pure artistic way to do things doesn't necessarily pay the bill. So my approach has always been maybe merging art with furniture and try to put as much as I can of the artistic side into the furniture. So I think it's a bit of a hybrid, what I do, you know, try to...
I'd say that's a very good explanation of what you do. If no one's seen it before, I think it is that hybrid between art and furniture and that art and construction as well.
Yes. And as you say, you know, social media, you always show the detail and you always, you know, kind of show the best part of the project. Obviously, we do also projects which are more bread and butter, like everyone else. But I always kind of focus on being able to choose what I like. And in doing so, I had to sacrifice maybe the choice to have a bigger business. Because I found very difficult to scale up and still maintaining my focus on what I like and this kind of artistic approach to furniture. I don't know if you agree, but if you know, sometimes in our business, if you want to make quick turnover, perhaps you get yourself 3 or 4 CNC machines. You design 3 or 4 kitchen versions, 3 or 4 wardrobe versions, and that's what you do all day long. That you can scale up. If you have good contacts, there's a good chance you make good money.
Yeah.
I struggle with that. So I always kind of, the way I like to see my business is as an artisan studio. So it's a small setup. And I tried to expand, as I said, it's not that I haven't tried, but it just didn't work for me. At one point I had, maybe 7 people as a team. But I just ended up being in the office, and I was doing more paperwork than anything else. And I kind of fall asleep in front of a screen. And so that's it. After a few years, I managed to find perhaps my dimensions, which is where I'm now, really. So we take on small project, but it's quite normally they're quite. There's always a challenge. There's something that maybe other companies don't want to do because it's a bit time consuming. There's a lot of prototyping. So that's where we are at, really. I think I'm in a good place.
Oh, definitely. Well, I mean, I don't know what it's like behind the scenes, but it certainly looks like you're in a really good place. The last couple of projects that I've seen on your Instagram, they're fantastic, incredible. That I really love is it an oak staircase with like the balustrade? It's kind of like a carving and stuff. Yeah. That's really a lovely thing. And the other one a little while ago, that I think it was a kitchen that you did in Vauxhall maybe, and it had like a big panel that came down to kind of cover it all over, so it's just a sheer wall and then pops up and you've got your worktop space and stuff.
That was a major, that was a major headache, but big satisfaction at the end.
Yeah.
Because if you want to do a flip up system, you can go on Affili or Etich, you can do a few systems on the market. But when someone asks you to have a 5-meter long panel, which doesn't have to look like a garage door, and it needs to feel like, smooth as a piece of furniture, that's perhaps one of the examples where maybe I don't sleep at night out of terror and out of thinking about solutions. But then is where I can, the kind of work we do comes together, and we get an engineer, we get a system, we design a system from scratch. So that was one of those examples, I think. Financially, at the end, if I have to calculate the hours, the prototypes, the times it didn't work, maybe it didn't pay as well as it should have. But that's the nature of the beast, for this kind of work. As I said, every time you do a new detail or a new design, it's a prototype, so it comes with the price of being wrong.
But we work in a world, we're doing similar sort of projects, and we're working in a world where nearly every project is its own prototype.
It is.
And nearly every project will come with the same level of input that you've got to put in for research, development, testing, everything else, just to give that final piece that you're only doing one of.
You're doing one of,
And we don't get asked so much anymore, but we used to get asked the question, why are you so expensive? And there's two ways that I answer that now, depending on who's asking me. But the first way is I send 2 photographs. I send a photo of the render or the image that I've been given that they want me to make, and then I send a pile of wood. And I say, well, we've got to turn that into that. Yeah. And that's going to take a lot of time, a lot of knowledge, a lot of machinery, and a lot of labor. So that's one. Or the other one is, we got prototype. We've got to make, for instance, we make chairs for a couple of different designers, and they give us a drawing of the chair and the model, a CAD model, and think, actually, that's what we want to make. But we might have to make 20, 30 prototypes to make sure that chair's solid, it's comfortable, it's not going to fall apart, and it looks how they want it to look. And they might take 20 hours each, those prototypes, And we start from scratch, and they give it back to you, and they go, "Oh yeah, I like that, but you just make a little change, and you know that you're going to have to start from scratch again almost every time." And then at the end of it, you've got one chair, or they might want 6 or 10 or 20, but you think
it's the economy of scale.
I mean, we'd have to make thousands of these things to make any money on them, but you do it for love, because especially chairs are just such beautiful. I love chairs, and tables are. I think you can put so much into chairs and tables that they have such a good character and stuff that you can really be expressive into. I mean, you're expressive in all the stuff that you make, but for me, I really like a chair and a table because you can put a lot into it. You can show a lot of skill, and you can show a lot of detail, but also it can be very understated as well. It doesn't have to be hugely elaborate, but you can show a great deal of care, detail, and skill in a very simple thing. And for people who are maybe not knowledgeable about joinery and woodwork, they'll go, "That's a really nice chair." But then for me, it's like if someone who knew what they were looking at saw it and went, "Oh, look at how that's joined together, and how that's really strong and that's stable. Look at that, it looks really good. How have they got that curve?" And for me, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. So you enjoy someone go towards your table and looking underneath.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Go with your hand.
How's that joined? How have they done that? You know.
Yeah.
That for me, I get off on that.
Well, I don't blame you. But also, you picked an example where probably you have the highest interaction between the human body and the piece of furniture.
That's true, yeah.
A chair and a table. So the ergonomics of a chair in relation to the table are very complex. So you're picking one of the probably most difficult achievements, in terms of furniture making. Yeah. More so than a cabinet or a wardrobe, many other things.
But they can be beautiful as well.
They can be beautiful as well.
I think we've been experimenting quite a lot. I mean, if we're making cabinetry, we're basically being told by the designer what they want, and we just draw it up and make it. We might be coming up with nice ways to show the movements, maybe a pivot hinge rather than a cabinet hinge or something like that, or nice little details that we can come up with. But generally, the designer will give us a package and say, "This is what we want, let's make it." So we don't get to be maybe quite as creative as we'd like to be in some of those things. Sometimes it depends who you're working with.
Depends who you work with. Yeah.
Some designers will say, we've got to make this space work. What do you think? And we can, as long as the client likes it, we can kind of get free carte blanche to do whatever we want. And not always carte blanche, but we get free reign in terms of the design, which is fun. But at the same time, that's what keeps me up at night when I'm thinking, oh my God, what can I do? Because it feels like a lot of pressure. It's like, what can I do that will stand out, which they will love, but other people who might not see it in the flesh, but see it in pictures might go, wow, that's great. Like, how can this project stand out from everything else? Yeah. And I'll be waking up at 3 a.m, scribbling on a pad next to me, going, oh yeah, how about we do something like that? Inspired by this, but then inspired by that, but then completely different from both. And it's a challenge.
And also the costs, also always lurking in the background, because you go through all this process. You want to put creativity, you want to make the client happy, the interior designer happy. Everyone needs to be this kind of happy all around. But then you have the costs in the background, which are completely separated by anything. Yeah. And they do their own thing. Yeah. And sometimes it works, sometimes it's a bit more tricky. That's why I guess we are both in a situation where, one-off world, there's a lot of question marks about finance and making it, profitable, possibly. Cover the cost other time. Yeah. Bit of a loss.
Lose sometimes, yeah. But sometimes we get projects which are like, oh, they're great. We've made something that's really beautiful and we've made good money on it. And those are the projects we keep thinking, oh, we need more of these. But then sometimes, when, like you said, it's not about the money, because sometimes we could chase the slightly more boring jobs, the bigger jobs, the more boring ones that don't necessarily have the kind of wow factor. We've just been sort of saying no to a lot of those because it's a bit plain. It's not really what we want to be doing. It's hard to get excited when you've done stuff that's great and we can stand back and be really proud of. Yeah. When you've done stuff like that, it's hard to sort of say yes to, Mrs. Jones' white fingerless J-groove kitchen down the road sort of thing. So we sort of say no to most of that now. And we're saying yes to a lot of projects that I think everyone else has said no to. Yeah. So the real complicated stuff with curves, curves on plan and elevation, sometimes both together.
Yeah.
The complicated carvings, the use of different materials, you know, wardrobes with kind of aigle-mise mirror, but then like maybe leather on the back, brass on the shelves, pivot hinges, all those sort of things, curved details, curved legs, all this sort of stuff that someone like you'd be able to do, definitely. But we'd probably be in a small minority of people in this country who you could go to and say, oh, can we have 20 of these? Really complicated vanity units with curved legs and stuff like that. There's not many people who can do it. There's people that can do maybe a one-off thing. You know, a guy in a shed who's worked his whole life as a joiner and has that optimum level of skill. Yeah. But to do it on a commercial scale, there's not that many, I don't think.
I think you're right. I think maybe it's also to do with the fact that on a commercial level, with the possibility of acquire technology, like, you know, CNCs and things like that, and many companies are more than, I don't know if maybe the right way to say, but more than skilled joiners are advanced machinists. You know, certain productions are focusing on, you know, what I was saying before, maybe wardrobe production or kitchen productions. Is, you know, they're based on the use of a lot of CNC equipment, for example, where even the training level of the operators is more on a technical side than on a traditional joinery side.
Yeah.
And that's the way it works. Yeah. So, like yourself, I think you need to find a compromise where, yes, you have technology, but then you still have the human input quite, you know, in a quite high level in order to have that kind of final result. And also it's unpractical to do complex things with the CNC and technology like that, because for the programming time you need to spend.
The programming time will be often 10 or 20 times the cut time.
You know, so CNCs are great, but if you have to reprogram every time because someone has the variations, they become a bit unpractical.
Well, this is my
costly.
This is where we find ourselves. I mean, we've got, you know, really fantastic CNC, you know, but that comes with having someone that can design in 3D, make a 3D model, and then someone that can use the machine and program the machine to cut around that 3D model. And then the guys in the workshop having to make the blanks to be able to cut into. So it's like a whole team around one machine. But I know a lot of joineries that have gone for CNC and they've just gone all in, and the CNC essentially cuts all the components, you know, doors and windows. All the parts come off the CNC or from the window line or whatever. And then the guys that are on the bench, they're just assemblers. They're just gluing and putting together. And, you know, no shade on them. There's nothing wrong with that. They're making good money and fair play. And the product that comes out the other end is probably just as good. But for us, since we've got it, we still do all the traditional stuff the traditional way. What we're using it for is to do the really complicated curves, curves where you've got like curves on curves, stuff that you couldn't do with a spindle molder. I couldn't imagine the jig and the cradle that we'd have to set up to make some of the things that we're doing. Yeah. Whereas we can just draw it on that. It takes a long time. We can cut it out, and it's like, wow, this would have taken 5 years with a spoke shave. It's taken like an hour on the CNC. Yeah. So we use it like that. So we're kind of, I guess we're not quite at the creative end that you are, but we're at more of a creative end of what we're able to do, which has been great. Really lucky to work with the clients that we work with, but we're using it for the more creative side than we are like just pure production. Because I mean, I'd get really bored if we were coming in and just doing doors every day, or just doing windows or kitchens, like basic shake kitchens every day. I'd get so bored, I don't think I could. I'd do something else.
Lunchtime. No, I'll be the same. Yeah. No, I totally agree with you.
So how did it start for you? Where did it all begin?
Where did it all begin? Well, in a bit, you know, kind of cliche way, but through my family. My family had a furniture business. I'm originally, worked out Italian from the accent, but my family had a furniture business, the place called Casacco, about an hour and a half north of, we were discussing it before, Venice, towards the Austrian border. And my father was running the business. It was furniture making, basically. Not a big setup, but a few employees. And my grandfather also was involved. Actually, was a Baroque carver.
Wow.
So that's what
Really?
it was. That was his trade. Yeah. So he was making kind of. I still have some, obviously, but very ornate Baroque frames, mirror frames, paintings, painting frames for paintings, bed heads, all this kind of stuff. You know, the kind of picture frame that is a month on the bench. You know, that kind of complex is. So I was I grew up in a workshop pretty much, not because it wasn't my choice, but because they were quite old school and I had to help. You know? So my career started as I don't know, human trestle. You know, holding pieces while they were on the drill press, or you know, kind of. They would shout at me, you know, just being steady on the spindle molder, feeding stuff, and that was almost a traumatic introduction to workshop life. And then, yeah, I kept helping in the workshop pretty much.
You got promoted to sweeping up the floors.
Well, that was the minimum. Sweeping up the floor was the minimum requirement for my daily life. And then I trained. I got a BTech correspondent, I believe, in industrial design, which didn't kind of bring me to anything particularly interesting, I'll say. But retrospectively now, I quite appreciate the technical side. You know, the understanding, drawing understanding, and CAD use and things like that. So that's where it started. Then in 1997, so I spent most of my life in UK, then in Italy. In 1997, I moved to London. Originally, like many cases, but for 6 months. And then things just, you know, I had a relationship and this and that. I don't know. I'm still here, so.
The long 6 months.
Long 6 months. So I worked for a few companies, just to understand, have a feel a bit how things work here, you know, see the differences. And I freelanced for a few companies back in the days. Eventually I had this role, you know, there were 2 or 3 companies where I had this role, they were kind of moving me around, of kind of project manager, and I worked for this company for a few years, in UK and then a bit in the Middle East. I worked in Kuwait, kind of this kind of joinery packages that were shipping from London, and we would fly there to assemble, you know, and close the job. And then what happened? Then in 2008, I set up the limited company with my. That's where my daughter was born, and my partner was working in marketing, and she decided to basically to join forces. So she's been working in the business since, as a family business, say. And so we've been working together, me and Melissa, since then, really.
Since 2008.
2008.
That must have been a tough time to start a business. That's like the height of the industrial decline, really, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was, but when I started, I kept close contact with the people I was working before. So I was kind of, the way it worked is that I was taking on maybe jobs that were in excess for them because they were still busy, despite the general situation. And yeah, we made it through, really, you know, but we always kept a small setup. So I always kind of monitor my overheads quite closely. It's one of my party tricks. overheads, keep an eye on overheads. So we had a studio which wasn't too big, and the number of employees always been, as an average, 3 or 4. It peaked at maybe 7, and then the business has evolved since, and then we can get to that as where I'm now. But we kind of made it through, to be honest. And then it's like really depends what contents you have. You just need to be lucky to have one supplier that has the work, and that can just bring you through any crisis, really. It's always about the contacts at the end, I think we've been lucky.
Oh, that's great. And where are you based? Where's your workshop based?
We are in West Dulwich.
West Dulwich.
Yeah. Towards just where well, it's more like West Dulwich and the West Dulwich West Norwood border. It's a industrial estate with 150 businesses.
150 businesses?
Yeah, it's a big building. It's on 4 floors.
Okay.
So we are on the ground floor. I mean, I've been there 12 years, I think. It used to be all workshops, all artisans, artists. Now, as the time has gone by, most of it is offices.
Really?
Yeah, I think we are the last. We are the block D, ground floor is the last part left to manufacturing.
Wow.
Because London is a bit like that. Landlords at the end of the day in the long term, prefer an office space. There's no dust, there's no noise. They can charge more. There's less aggro.
Yeah.
There's no really safeguard for artisans as such. You know the way it works. It's quite brutal. A lot of workshops are. I mean, prior to this place, I had a workshop in Deptford, and when I had a workshop in Deptford for 5 years, and Deptford back in the days was super cheap. There was plenty of studios for rent, a quite reasonable price. Now my railway arch where I had a workshop is a cocktail bar. That kind of
London is like that though, isn't it?
It's brutal, yeah.
You get everything kind of spreads further and further out. As I remember when I was a lot younger, I'd go to see friends or DJ in Hackney and those sort of areas and stuff, and there was loads of studios in kind of Hackney, Columbia Road, Old Street, those areas. There was like workshops and studios, and then suddenly they were bars, and now they're offices. And then that's gone a bit further. Everyone that I knew that lived in kind of Whitechapel moved to Hackney, and then they moved from Hackney to a bit further out. They were kind of Walthamstow, and now they're all moving out of Walthamstow, and it's just going further and further out. And the same in South London as well. It's just getting because when I first started, I was kind of freelancing as well, and I was doing a lot of work for a couple of companies in Peckham. And they were in, like a huge old industrial building, like a mini industrial estate, and they all had their own buildings and stuff. And I was working for like 2 or 3 of them. And now that place, that's like, I think there's a brewery and a tap room, and there's just nothing trade related there at all, And it just seems like it's just getting pushed further and further out.
Further out, and then even that doesn't stop, because even then these places eventually get pushed out because the rents, the rent, the way the rent increase works is just insane. So it's a worry, especially because at the end of the day, I think in any kind of social group or you should have the presence of artisans. You should have the presence of something that is not necessarily a coffee place, or is not a gym, or is not a nail polishing place. I think there should be something to protect this kind of environment, let's call it, social environment. Because businesses are part of the social environment. People will want to have some furniture make. I don't know. It's a bit tricky.
I think in parts of Europe, well, certainly in other parts of the world, but I think in some parts of Europe, they do have certain protections in place. I was in Holland earlier on in the year, and I was really amazed that there was furniture making in the city centre, in Amsterdam city centre. You go past and there would be like a huge building, offices above, and it sounds like similar to what you've got. There'd be a furniture studio with a workshop in the middle, on the ground floor, in the middle of the city. And I saw a lot of these, and I thought, wow, that's amazing. You wouldn't see it in any city in England now. It's the same thing. It's kind of everything's been spread out.
And money talks, I guess. But I think eventually, central London is becoming more of a dormitory of, a lot of the super expensive flat. Most of them are investment grade anyway. If you drive through Hyde Park complexes at night, you see very few lights on in all those places. Are kind of business related, but that's the way it works. You just have to deal with it, really. There's not much we can do about that.
What's quite funny though is that everyone kind of, if you move, everyone else moves with you, or if your friends move, you'll move to them. So all of my friends that moved from Hackney are now in Walthamstow. They all kind of moved within the space of about 6 months of each other, and everyone, it's like an exodus, and they just keep going further and further.
But then that place becomes cool. And that becomes, it's like an ongoing process. Because you move to cheaper area, but then cheaper areas, attract the creative crew. And though that attracts the cool bars. And it's an ongoing gentrification.
Exactly. I mean, we're not immune to it here, even though we're on the coast. There's nowhere else
you're not immune at all.
There's nowhere we can go from here. We can either go sideways, but then you're going to hit another town. So typically, where we are in Hastings has been like one of the cheapest places in the country to live. There's loads of creatives here, artists, musicians. Like artisan craftspeople, stuff like that, and they've been drawn here A, because it's cheap, but also B, because there's a lot of other similar people. There's a lot of stuff going on for a small town. There's a lot of cool creative stuff going on, and you can get to London, well, not that easily. The train's crap and the road's crap, but you can get to London. It's not too far away.
No, it's not.
And Brighton's close as well, and you can get to Europe on the Eurotunnel. You can be there in an hour, so it's good like that. And some of the buildings are incredible. We've got all the Decimus Burton buildings. I think he designed a lot of the buildings around Hyde Park and those kind of areas. He's one of the Victorian architects in London. He designed all of St Leonard's. So you get these buildings with the most fantastic proportions and huge great bay windows, and it's really lovely. Parts of it have got really lovely architecture. And it's been like, I guess it peaked in the Victorian era and then it declined quite rapidly. I mean, I remember in the 90s here, you'd walk down the street and there'd be people similar to what you see in, kind of Manchester or Birmingham, like when people are on spice and they're all kind of, the heads are dropped and like zombies. But it used to be like that. There'd be heroin addicts everywhere in doorways and stuff. And it was kind of scary growing up here. There's a lot of crime. But then all of a sudden, it starts getting a little bit better and a little bit better. And now, you can't go to the bar without to a local pub, which are all now trendy relay brewery pubs, or that sort of thing, or like selling pizza or something like that at the same time. But you can't go in there without overhearing someone saying, "Oh, I just moved down from London last week. Isn't that great?" So it's starting to happen. But which in some ways, from the outside looking in, because we've just kind of moved just outside, for a residential thing, it's actually quite nice because there's a lot of money in the area now. There's money coming into the area. And people are doing up these old houses and stuff. But at the same time, if I was someone that was on the other side of that, was looking to buy my first house, I didn't have loads of money, because the wages here are still pretty low, because the cost of living is still pretty low. But now the house prices are getting pushed up, or rents are getting pushed up. Where'd you go? You can't go much further because we're at the edge of the coast. Where do you go? So I can see both sides. Like, there's a gentrification is cool because it makes the area a bit nicer, but then at the same time, what happens if you can't afford to be part of that gentrification? Where do you go?
Exactly that. But I think I'm quite optimistic. I think at the end of the day, as things progress, as technology progress, and AI and this and that in the world, that is going so quickly that you just cannot keep up with the way things are moving forward. I believe that the appreciation for the handcrafted will stay, and it will still be valuable a lot of further down the line. because I think then the beauty of the handcrafted piece of furniture is something that is really tricky to duplicate, even through technology.
Yeah.
I think that the beauty is not necessarily the perfection. The beauty, the imperfection is part of the beauty, and that's what we have asymmetric faces, we still look good. There's not necessarily a perfection association with beauty. So I'm optimistic. We'll be fine.
We will be fine.
And there will be still people that they will want to have a piece of furniture because they can brag that it's handmade.
Yeah.
There's the ego factor.
Yeah.
As well.
And it tells a story.
It tells a story.
I've seen this guy, Andrea, he's fantastic. He came, he had these fantastic ideas. He made this thing just for me.
Yeah.
So it feels good,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what will have value in the future. I don't think that's something that can be taken away. So I'm quite optimistic.
And you said that you and your partner, you're in business together. How's that been? Because we had Callum from Debolix Motorcycles.
Yeah.
I know you know Callum.
Yeah.
He and his wife work together as well.
Yeah.
And I was saying, how is that? Because I don't know if I'd be alive if me and my wife worked together. I think she'd have killed me by now, probably.
Right.
But I feel like I'd just annoy her all the time. But how's it been for you? You're still here, so it must be okay.
Are you filming this?
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. Well, I think it works very well. Melissa is an essential part of the business. I don't think actually. No, nothing. I'm sure the business wouldn't be where it is without her. On logistics side, which is actually a positive thing, we work separated. So she works from home, I work in a studio. So that's one thing that perhaps can avoid the constant little niggles. So we have kind of formal, we organize our meetings, we treat it in a formal way. We have a meeting 11 o'clock Wednesday. And she comes over, we sit down, we have a quite formal way to do meetings. So we plan the meetings like we would plan them with a client. The second thing, she takes care of all the, and that's a job on its own, all the administration of the business. She takes care of all the invoicing, wages, subcontracting cost. She takes care of all the sourcing. If you do upholstery, she has certain part of the production where she's deeply involved, like upholstery. If you need marbles, stones, or any other form of additional items, let's say in a package, she takes care of that. So there's a bit of weight off my shoulder as well. So we complete each other. She's a master of spreadsheets. My daily life sometimes is on a scrap of paper with a pencil. She's very organized. I'm not that good in being organized. I'm more focused on the creative side. I'm more random in my timings as well. Sometimes I work late at night. Sometimes I work weekends. I don't have quite a pattern. She's more methodical. So we are being yin and yang. So that's, I think, why it works. To be honest, if I just think about how to face doing VAT returns, wages, all that, I wouldn't know where to start. So I'm lucky.
Good. That sounds like a really good pairing, good partnership.
Yeah. I think we are. Of course, we have the occasional clash, but nothing major, because obviously we've been 12, 17 years. We worked together for 17 years now, so we must do something right. We're still alive. We haven't split up yet. No divorce, nothing.
Well, that's great. It's nice to come across people who work with their family, and maybe I wonder if part of that is because you've kind of grown up in that environment where you've been working in your family business.
Yes, I think. I mean, when you have your own business, You need to be surrounded by someone that, by people that understand what it takes. And sometimes, means that you don't have a specific timetable, for example. Sometimes it means, like it happened in the last project, that I don't have time for summer holidays and they need to go without me. There are certain sacrifices, such going with the running your own business, which you need people, around you that, able to understand them and support you more than say, this is out of order, or I want to do this, and this is not on. Sometimes it is on, Sometimes you have a deadline. You just have to deal with it. Maybe you're waiting for the building work to be finished, and that's delayed. So all your planning is pushed forward a few weeks. And you can just say, my furniture should have gone in 1 month ago. That's not the way you relate to otherwise you lose clients. I mean, people appreciate, clients or interior designers or whoever gives you the work appreciates you for also be someone who understands the dynamic of a site, understands the delays, and it doesn't make a huge fuss, Obviously, there's a limit, but you're supposed to be helpful. You're supposed to be supportive. And you need your family needs to understand this, So that's perhaps what I learned from a family business when I was in Italy. Yeah, it was pretty much the same.
Everyone understands you're going towards the main goal, and you got to make some deviations from the
Sometimes you need to make some adjustments of a family schedule, let's say, and that's it. You just have to go on with it, and get it done.
Yeah, I think we probably went 8 years without a holiday when I first started, because I could never say, look, in 6 months I can give a week then, because I knew that if I did that, we'd definitely land a job during that time, or we couldn't afford it. I'd have to put money for something else.
Sure.
So we probably went 8 or 9 years without going on a holiday. We lived very, very frugally for that time. And then kind of when it finally started to come good, it wasn't like we were like, let's go on holiday all the time now. It was like, we can go on that one holiday, and we can maybe think about doing the same next year, maybe.
Yeah.
But, that's been quite nice. But, I mean, my family, my partner's very understanding and very supportive, but I know that I missed out on a lot of the kids growing up because I was here all the time. I was working all the time. Yeah. I'd often do a 16-hour day. I'd often work 7 days a week, especially in the first couple of years. In the first couple of years, I was barely at home. I'd go home, I'd sleep, and I'd come straight back to work. And I think, a lot of people in the business like that we're in, that's how you get started. And it wasn't until I realised that I can just tell people that it will take a little bit longer. Yeah. And that most people would accept that. Or if I scheduled it a little bit longer and said, I know you said you need it in 5 weeks, but it's going to take me 7. They'd go, okay, fine. Whereas before I'd go, I can't tell them it's 7 weeks. I'm going to lose that job. I'll do it in 5. And I just won't sleep or see my family or go home. And it was that kind of mental shift of saying, well, why don't I just say what I think instead of saying yes to what they're saying? And that was that. I mean, that for me, that changed a lot of things. Not only it changed, it gave me the confidence to say things to clients like it's going to cost a little bit more if you want it like that, or it's going to take a little bit longer. But it also made me look at who we work with a lot. And I think that's been one of the nicest things about growing a little bit, is that some people who we maybe have difficult relationships with or haven't been the best of clients or tricky, that ask a bit too much, we've been able to sort of do a bit less for them. And then the ones that we really like working with, really good with us. Yeah. We really love the work that we're doing and stuff. We just foster those relationships and do a bit more for them. And then similar to you, we develop little collections and stuff that we can collaborate on. Yeah. That's been the real change, man. Because that's been, the level of stress has dropped dramatically. Yeah. The level of time that I have to put in has dropped, not dramatically, but we do a 4-day week now. So we have 3 days off every week, and it allows us to do other stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not been at the detriment of the work going out. The productivity is still the same.
Yeah.
But because everyone's a bit more enthusiastic when they come in, we're doing this great work.
Yeah.
And we're only here 4 days, so we just work really hard for those 4 days.
Nice
So.
weekend. You have a little break. They come in just pumped up. Yeah.
Yes, it's been a real game changer, because I was noticing on a Friday from lunchtime onwards, you may as well. May as well just send
the
them
head
home.
is already there.
Yeah, they're tired, their head's down, they're thinking about the weekend or whatever. Or the other way, on a Monday morning, it's like,
shattered.
But the guys just come in, get on with it. 4 days, it's really good. And I think it's, for me, understanding that work-life balance, because everyone talks about it, but when you're in it, when you're in that kind of 100-hour, 120-hour week, you think, what balance, But then when you start getting a bit back, you think, actually, this is probably quite important,
Massive.
But you don't think about it when you're kind of.
No, I think though, I totally agree. But as you said, at the beginning, when you start, it's just brutal. Yeah. Unless you have $250,000 stashed somewhere that you just buy the equipment, you have some buffering, some backup, let's say. It's hard. It's long hours, and occasionally I still slip into the long hours.
Yeah.
Occasionally I still bang my 70 hours a week, but I'm okay with that. Yeah. Another thing I think you said is very, very interesting, and I totally agree with you, is being able to somehow filter who you're dealing with. Because, humans come in all forms and shapes and tempers and attitudes. But personally, the moment that you work hard, you put your heart in what you do, there's no way you can accept someone that relates to you in a stressful manner or in non-inappropriate way. There's no space for that. And I don't remember now exactly, there was this blog and say, well, you can fire a client. It's not just that the client can fire you. You can say, I cannot deal with you, because in a moment where the job went under pressure, you just had a massive go. That's for no exact reason, no understanding the concept, the situation. You don't, as a human being, you don't need to go through that for the money. You just have to be able to say, well, I tell you what, I don't think we have a good chemistry. Yeah. And I don't think we will work together anymore. This is the last job we do, and I wish you all the best. Yeah. It's nothing personal. You need to be able to say that, because the moment you work hard and you put your heart in what you do, that's the best you can do. Then things go wrong. They will always go wrong for you, for me, for everyone. You just have to be able to, it's a bit like you understand your crew, not when you sail through calm seas, it's when the storm kicks in. Yeah. And then you see who's who. Yeah. And it's the same with clients. So the goal is to have a flow of work and have people that you work for where you have this kind of mutual understanding, that where they know you're going to be in the workshop Saturday and the Sunday if necessary, and they appreciate that. And then, they have to deal with it in a calm manner. I think it's a great thing if you can achieve that in business. Yeah. You are in a sweet spot, because your stress level drops, your family life improves, your general well-being improves, and I think that's probably one of the top targets you can have, really.
I 100% agree with everything that you've said there. We are just recently, what's kind of interesting for us is we'll do a lot of work for under a main contractor quite often in a bigger project, a commercial project. It'll be the main contractor that will be giving us our instructions and stuff. Obviously the designs will come from the interior designer or the architect, but from the money side of things and the program, it's the main contractor. And we work for a number of main contractors, but recently we have a relationship with one contractor, and they had a fantastic team, got on with everybody there. Everything was good. It's smooth. It went like clockwork. Sometimes, payments were a little bit slow sometimes, but I think it's just a cash flow thing. When they're operating at that level, sometimes they're beholden to their client and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, but that we got over it. And then a couple of people left, a couple of new people came in, and it took like one new person to come in and just completely transform the whole atmosphere of that place to so much to the point, and this person's kind of rude and demanding, and so much to the point that we've done a number of jobs for this, big jobs for this contractor. Now we're kind of politely declining to do any more, because the whole rhetoric of how we were being referred to and talked about completely changed with this one person joining. And it just goes to show, we got a long-standing history with one business, and now we're not going to, probably, at least while that person said, we won't do any more business with them, because it's the same thing. It's how people talk to you. It's how they interact. It's, you're going to be expected to, and I was on the last job working late every night, working at the weekends, finishing, doing my little bit and stuff, because I can't also expect all of my staff to, and a lot of them did come in and do overtime, come in on Fridays and weekends and evenings, but I can't say to them, look guys, we're going to have to be here 20 hours for the next, every day for the next 2 weeks to get this done. It was like, well, you know what, if you want to do a bit of overtime, you can. I'm going to be here till it's done. And but you, and they kind of knew that, the client knew that, but it wasn't like, oh, thanks for getting it done. It's like, well, why, you should have just done it in the first place. And I thought, you know what, that's the last time. We're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to. If you don't appreciate the levels of effort that we're putting in to make this the best possible thing we can for you, then it's over.
It's not worth it,
And that, I'd be stressed at night thinking about the negative interactions and stuff. And I thought, it's crazy, because this is a job that's really gone well and it's beautiful and it's all in it. It looks fantastic. Like, where is this negativity coming from? I don't know. I thought about it a lot. And in the end, I thought, what, the best thing is not to have anything to do with them, which is sad, really, because I think all of our custom, similar to you, most likely, is repeat clients. It comes from, we probably only have a handful of good clients that we sort of cycle between doing a job for that person. At any one time, we might have 3 jobs on with 3 different people, but we probably only take jobs in from maybe a dozen at most. But they're the relationships that we've really worked on and that we've really fostered. And probably the same as you, they'll come to us with an intent, and then we can work together on stuff. Sometimes though, they'll just give us a Jordan and say, make that. But then there are other customers that will go back and forth and have mid-design meetings with, and they listen to us, we listen to them, and then we come up with a beautiful solution. And we just, like you say, just want more of those. That's the way the world goes around.
That should be the way,
But that's because we love what we do and we like doing something different. Like you were saying, the guys that have just got 5 CNCs and knocking out kitchens, they don't care. It's like a tool unit will cost you £600. If you want it in that finish, it's £625. How many do you want? When do you need it? Done. But for me, it's all about, it's about being creative, but it's about the relationship. The relationships are almost more important now than the work that we're doing to a certain extent. From my point of view, because I'm not on the tools. I've done what you said you would have to do if you had more people. You in the office. I'm basically in the office now. But do you know what I love? I love coming in on a Friday or on the Saturday when there's no one here, and the workshop's empty and it's quiet. I put the music on.
The toys.
Oh man. Oh yeah, all the toys are here. I can put music on and just make something just for me, or get on with like one element of something else, because I'm scared now. I'll be honest, I'm scared that if I come down and like take over a bench, that all the guys in the workshop are going to be watching me, and I'm thinking I'm probably going to be really rusty. Like, how do I use this machine again? Like, it's been a couple of years, so it scares me a little bit. But when there's no one here, I'm like, great, let's go for it.
Fair enough. Well, the fact that you have 4 days a week normally, apart from obviously periods maybe there, that's bloody great actually.
It is fun, but I've got my workforce is spread in ages, so the guys that are slightly more mature but I think that's important, because it's important for me that those guys are passing on the skills to the younger guys. But I've got a number of guys that are in their late 40s, 50s, a couple of one maybe 2 in their 60s. And they don't want to work 5 days a week,
You get to the stage in life when you think,
Yeah. But
I'm done.
I want to keep them happy, and I want to keep them here and motivated and
Yeah.
working for as long as possible because they're great.
Yeah.
And also want them to show the younger guys everything they know before they retire, because when they retire, you know, where's the skill going to be?
Know-how gap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we really notice, actually. I don't know if it's the same for you when you're taking people on. If you, almost a safe bet, if someone's 40 plus, almost a safe bet, if they've been doing it all their life, that they'll be pretty good. If we're taking on people in their 20s, early 30s, they could say that they've worked in a joinery for the whole time. The skills gap is very evident.
Significant, yeah.
You know, recently we employed someone mid-30s maybe, been a joiner here, been a joiner there, doing a bit himself and stuff. And where we kind of thought he would be compared to where he actually was, you know, started to use the tools and machines and putting stuff together. It's like, whoa, how have you been at working there for 5 years, working there for 3 years, and then not able to do this? It was like, man, but it happens a lot.
Yeah.
But generally, if we get someone who's in their 40s, 50s,
you safe bet.
Mustard, you know, they come in, how do you do that? Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Do it their own way. I'm not doing it that way. I'll do it my way.
Yeah.
But you still get a good outcome with it.
No, fair enough.
But we just, we train apprentices. We have like one every year. So we've got always 2 or 3 apprentices, one in their first year, one in their second year, sometimes one in their third year. And they normally stay with us. Sometimes they get the ticket and they're off, you know, and fair play to them, but they normally stay with us. And I think that's really important, because without that, when those older guys retire, those skills are going to be lost.
Yeah.
And I think that personally, I feel like now we've got kind of this podcast and a bit of media presence and stuff like that, I can really try and make joinery sexy, cabinet making sexy, to try and get more people to take it up. Because the colleges that teach it, especially around here, like they're closing or they're shrunk, and they're not offering the courses because they don't have enough people applying and stuff like that. I mean, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, those courses would be oversubscribed. You'd have to fight for your place on those courses, and they'd be offered at every town would have a college where you could go and study trades. Whereas now, not many colleges are open, and not many trades colleges are open, and not many of those trades colleges offer joinery or furniture making courses. The only ones that seem to be doing well are the private ones, you know, like Robinson House or where's that other one? There's another one as well. Rycote, places like that.
Yeah.
You know, the kind of fine furniture places. But it's not like a normal government paid college. You go, you have to pay to do.
Yeah, you pay
whatever,
substantial fee.
And it is quite
substantial,
money. But then you get really good tutoring. But that was like the standard 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah. I think there's a general shift on the ambitions of young people. I think that that's maybe for social media, the way things are moving forward. The life of the furniture maker is not something that I guess is considered that attractive, maybe. So you will struggle. I mean, it's a bit of a struggle to find people that is keen to learn or is keen to go through the process, you know, because it's a long process. Even if you get a junior in the workshop, it takes years.
Yeah.
You know, not even months. It takes years to bring it to a level where you can live in comfortably, taking on a small project, not even crazy project, but you know, or be completely comfortable on the machines, comfortable and safe on the machines. So you know, this kind of employer status is very tricky, because you have the older generation which are getting older, and then you have the young ones that maybe don't want, they're in a rush in life. Before life is even started, they're already in a rush to achieve something. And the learning furniture is a slow path. And you can go to a college, even a good college, and I had a few of those, But then the life of the workshop is different because they come, I made this, yeah, okay, how long time did that take? That's 6 months.
1 term or 2 terms or something.
Yeah, that's a week.
Yeah.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
And it needs to be the same quality. And that's the shock. And some of them take it in a good way, and they appreciate the feedback and they realize what it's all about. Some others take it, I'm going to look for my, fresh off college, £22 an hour somewhere else. Okay, well, good luck. I always thought, I had great people that maybe they started quite junior in the business. But what I noticed as well, that is like a path of life. They grow in the business, they get to a good level, and the good ones, then they open their own thing, which is fine.
Yeah.
So my approach at the moment is that I cut down dramatically of people working on normal basis. But what I do, I kept track. I've very good contact with ex-employees that have their own workshops because they know the way I work. I know the way they work. So on bigger projects, we cooperate together. And then when the project is finished, for example, we can go their own ways. So that's, I found is the best way to retain the skill sets I worked on. Leave them, they have their independence, but we still have a good relationship, a human level as well, a personal level as well. But yeah, it's a struggle. It's probably one of the most difficult. Employees can be quite tricky, in a business, especially when you grow, I guess.
Well, I think we're maybe 15 or something like that. So I would say that probably the hardest yards for me were when we were like 3, 4, 5, 6 employees. Yeah. Because I was still I was doing everything. I was doing all the admin, but then working and managing all the jobs and everything else. Yeah. I think when we went past that and we were kind of like 8, 9, maybe 10, I had like a foreman, and my foreman's brilliant. He's like 64, but he's like the best in the workshop. Really, really, really good. So that then he could kind of manage what was going on the workshop floor and allow me to kind of do the client stuff. And then when we've had a couple of people kind of come in and do drawing and stuff for us, do the CAD drawings and the models and the sign-off drawings, workshop drawings, whatever. And as soon as we got the person in doing that, and I think, then they left and got someone else. She left, we got someone else who's now kind of doing 3D modeling and stuff, which is great for this, kind of grows like that. But it's like every kind of admin role or management role that I can employ someone on, it takes a bit off me. You can only get to that point when you're at a certain level. So it's like, I can't employ someone to do admin if I'm like three people in, so I can't afford it. I can't afford a role that's not directly bringing in money. So I set myself all these gates of when we get to this, if we can afford to have 8 people on the tools, then I can afford a foreman. And then if we got a foreman, then if I have 2 more people, we can get someone to do drawings. And it's like
puzzle.
Yeah, it is. It is like a puzzle, man. But it's like snakes and ladders as well. Yeah, you go along and then a ladder comes up. And like, this is great. We've like leveled up, and then you hit a snake, and then you
back down. Back
to the beginning again. Yeah. Back to your work. Your work is, it's incredible. I sing your praises to everybody. Where do you draw inspiration from?
All sorts of. I like kind of traditional design. I like. The relation between design and nature forms. I'm quite keen on mid-century style, mid-century furniture. So I would say inspiration comes from all over the place. I like to be open-minded. Also, I think sometimes inspiration can come from the material itself. I always been open to use all sorts of materials. I like obviously timber, but I use a lot of, like yourself, I use a lot of metal. I use bone for handles. I try to put my hands on as many different materials as I can. I use resin. We done silicone molding items. We casted branches into brass resins. I like to play a lot. So sometimes inspiration comes from the use of different materials as well. There's Dutch designer Peter Neck. He does all the kind of reclaim. He does a lot of reclaim furniture with reclaimed materials, for example. And sometimes I remember this interview where he said sometimes he buys a tool like a folding machine, and his exercise is to just make a piece of furniture using that machine only, which has a lot of restraints, has a lot of complications, but then you end up knowing the machines and exploiting the material to its limit. And I'll always like that kind of approach to design, where inspiration comes from the tools you use in combination with the materials as well. I think I like to think it's a 360-degree. Everything can inspire me, Sometimes I take a picture, or we have an allotment. I remember taking a picture of this bark, and there were some leaves and there was some piece of rusted metal. And when I extract myself and I go away, from what I see, and in a way that I look at it with a cold eye, I can see an incredible composition of textures, which could be potentially replicated in somehow into a pattern. I play a lot on that respect. If I hope it answers your questions, but
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's I like, they say, look, keep the eyes of a child, I think can be quite childish in that respect. I have a collection of variety of samples from bull horns to seeds to metal scrap. So all over the place.
Excellent. My dad's an artist. He's moved down to France now. Him, my mum, and he's got a studio. It sounds very similar to your sample collection. You walk in and if you didn't know him, you'd walk in and just think, what is all of this stuff? But when you walk past it, it's like a very carefully curated collection of different textures and colours and materials even.
Yeah.
And he incorporates it. He's a ceramic artist. He incorporates loads of different stuff in his ceramics, and he'll go through a process, especially when we were kids. We'd go for a walk and he'd come back with a piece of similar piece of bark or a leaf, particularly a leaf. I remember he came back with this grape leaf. We were like, why are you carrying that? It's just, as a teenager, you think, oh, that's weird, isn't it? But then a couple of weeks later, he comes up and he's made this incredible plate with all these kind of glazed grape leaves, and he's kind of sprayed the glaze on the leaf and dropped it on and made all these fantastic patterns. You think, oh, wow, you've got the gift to be able to see something in nature or in life in general, to see something and then have the vision to be able to put that and incorporate it into a piece somehow. I think that's really quite special.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot to be said about what's already existing.
Yeah.
So I think that the concept of designing something as a relative weight in reality is an adaptation of what's existing and has been done probably in some form before. And that is something that I try to keep in my head at all times, especially nowadays with the concept of, being so-called a designer. To me, the concept of designing is related to the ability of manipulating the materials, the ability to work. I think is every designer should spend, every architect should spend 6 months on a building site. Every designer should spend 6 months in a workshop, which sometimes doesn't, is not necessarily the case. You got all sorts of different approaches. But in my view, is the concept of design is the concept of the connection with the materials and the connection of the manufacturing process. And that's the way I approach what what I design, let's say.
And you work very closely with a number of designers, but I know, is it Rebecca James? Is one you've got a collection together?
Yeah, with Rebecca, we've been working together for, let me think, 15, almost since 2009. Yeah, that's 16 years. 16 years.
So almost from when you started.
Almost from when I started, because I was doing, I did one of the first design shows at the Truman Brewery near. It was a Tent London, it was called, I think. And I had a little stall with my furniture, and I made this. I made this bar cabinet in copper, and I hand carved. It was a Beelzebub, Lord of the Flies bar cabinet, and I carved this fly in was it Wenge, and some redwood. I mean, I use a variety of wood to do the body, and then I carved in plywood. I carved the structure, biologic shape of the wing in ply, and I sent it somewhere to have a 3D scan, and I had machine in solid aluminum twice. So the wings are in aluminum, and I had this fly on this kind of copper box. So I was sticking out a bit like a sore thumb, and she came over, and she was just quite intrigued. And I said, I need to speak to you. We're gonna work together. And when you do these shows, you have a lot of people overexcited. Maybe they have a drink and they say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna buy your stuff." Everything most of the time disappears into nothing. And she just turned up in my workshop after a few months, I'll say, and she goes, "Okay, I have a project." And they say, since then we've been working together. She has a quite an eclectic style, quite out there with the fairies in a good way. And I think we understand each other at that level. We did a lot of residential projects together, mainly houses, And after a few years, we decided to do something together, go a bit further. We did a collection. It's called the Felice James, and we designed this kind of collection of items: a chaise-longue, a sideboard, a console table, a dressing table. They're quite out there, quite maximalist. Is that the way to say? Yeah, and so we kind of have that ongoing. We haven't been adding items recently, but we've done quite several projects where we incorporate these items into these houses. We were selling a bit in US prior to COVID, but with COVID we had that kind of crazy bumpy road after with the shipping costs and tax, everything, and that kind of faded a bit into. So now we focus a lot on UK market of European, if there's demand, obviously. And that's it. We're still working together, me and Rebecca. We have a kind of a understanding. When you get a famous understanding with each other, and you support each other, is one of those. So I'm lucky in that respect. But hopefully we will have more designs in the future. But it's about the time, the time it takes to develop anything, and in a production level is quite long. And still, the pieces are not something I would say they're ideal for batch production, because we handmade the handles, on the lathe, we handmade the brass socks in a particular shape, in a particular dimension. When you go down the rabbit hole, you just know that every piece is going to be hard work. There's no, it's a bit like with your chairs. Each one would require that amount of work. You've done your learning curve, but still it's going to be a lot of work. It's not going to be a money. a big money exercise,
No, we'd be making wardrobes on CNCs if we just wanted to make money, right?
Absolutely that. So this collection is like that. Each piece will still be a kind of a one-off. It will still be handmade.
It still has an artisan.
There's no choice. You cannot ask a metal worker or somewhere to make you 4 legs. He will charge you. You have to do it yourself, which is fine, which is fun.
But it's part of the process, isn't it? I enjoy. I'm the only one here that does any work in metal and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the thing that I can still
nice.
confidently do, without anyone watching. But it's something quite nice about, especially if it's something you've done before, like making a little top hat or something just on the lathe, and you can just have your own little mini production line. And then you kind of go, oh yeah, I remember how we did that on the last one, and maybe make improvements on each
They're quite the same. You have some slight variations. So yeah, I mean, if I have an excuse to buy a tool,
I'm the worst at this. Yeah,
I'll buy it.
Yeah,
I'll buy it. I'll justify.
But you, my friend, your wife does your accounts, so you got to be a little bit careful. Whereas me, I'll just buy it and don't necessarily have to say anything.
I'm quite cunning. I can be quite convincing due to some technical reasons that I need that. Then the tool might be drifting into motorbike parts. You never know. There's always this kind of gray area sometimes with the tools. But yeah, I love tools. It's probably it's almost a fixation of how many I need more.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. But it's the potential. When you get that tool, the potential of what you can do with it is phenomenal, and it's also a beautiful thing in itself. No matter what it is, you think, oh, this is great. Someone's really made a lot of effort.
There's also the fetish of the tool itself. The way it looks, the way it's built,
the way it feels,
the weight. You get all nerdy on weights and finishes,
and then it's a nice thing when you've spent. I know it's bad, isn't it? When you spend a lot of money on a tool and you finally get to use it, or you've got an excuse to use it, it's like, oh, this is fantastic. This little hand plane justifies all the hundreds of pounds that I've spent on it, because it's obviously much better than the old one that I got that does the same job.
It has the same job pretty much in the same time with the same finish, but it feels different.
Yeah,
and it looks different.
Yeah, and you feel better using it.
And you feel better using it.
No, I think there's a lot. You've got to reward yourself as well. I think if you don't have these little moments of self-rewarding, what are you doing it for?
Well, I think. Considering the amount of time you spend working, I think you should surround yourself of things that you enjoy, which are work-related. I'm just a sucker for the workshop. When I have free time, I go to the workshop. It's sad, but that's true. I just go to the workshop. If I have a free weekend, I'm straight in there. Even if I don't have an urgent commission, I will be in there messing about. That's what I enjoy. I think is the key of my life. Having been able to find something that keeps me so engaged after all these years.
Yeah.
If I had to win the lottery tomorrow and win 20 millions, first thing after a few bikes and probably a Caterham, I'll get lots of tools, and I get perhaps a bigger workshop. But it's very important part of my life. I will keep going. I'm not planning to. I don't have any lust for retirement. I can see. I mean, obviously, everyone likes to have a point in life where maybe you slow down, and the financial pressure is not quite there, and all this kind of thing. You pay the mortgage, blah blah blah. But I will still keep doing what I do, unlimited. I'm gonna find me on the bench, hopefully at the end. That's my place of rest.
Well, we started at the beginning and we're finishing at the end.
Yeah, we're already foreseeing.
So, if you could offer, I ask everyone that comes on the podcast the same question. If you could offer a piece of advice to a 18-year-old Andrea, and then or someone that wants to, of that kind of age, that wants to get into woodworking or joinery or furniture making, what piece of advice would you give?
I will give what I will say is that be patient. That's what I will say, and stick to your guns, because it's a long path, but is very rewarding once you get there. There's no shortcut whatsoever, you know, and that would be my advice. It's a great way of making your living, but you know, it's pretty hardcore, especially at the beginning. It's hard work. You'll have to go through experience, maybe in workshops where, you know, the stuff they do doesn't inspire you, but still you will learn, and it still is worth go through that. And just keep going, you know. And it takes a few years before you start maybe see the end of the tunnel. So patience, really, and stick to your guns. That's my advice.
Fantastic. Well, great advice it is. Well, Andrea, thanks so much for coming in. This
That's
has been
all right.
really, really good, super insightful, and just great to have you on as well.
No, well, thank you. You were good to catch up.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Thanks very much.
No worries. Thank you.